What is up guys, Fer here, and today we're going to be talking about Kong, one of the few prominent Marines that we don't really know anything about right now. Now he's not really in the spotlight like Garp or Sengoku, but we know he's there. I think there's definitely something special about him. His screen time in the manga is just as little as the Gorosei or even less. I think we've only seen him once in the manga, and this was post Marineford after the war when he was talking about the prisoners that escaped Impel Down, and we also learned that Garp and Sengoku came to him to resign from the Navy, which he was reluctant to do because of how much prestige Garp and Sengoku had, given the fact that they were top tier Marines during Roger's era. And so he wanted to use that influence they had to recruit more Marines and for them to train the next generation of Marines. And we also saw that Garp and Sengoku are still around and they still do things for the Marines from time to time, even though they're technically retired. We know Garp should be retired, but we know Sengoku has the position of General Inspector. Now, what do we know about Kong as of right now? Now, we know that he's currently one of the highest powers within the world government and has the title of Commander-in-Chief or Pan-Fleet Admiral in some translations. Now, it was also shown in one of the data books that his position is only second to that of the Gorosei, and with the reveal of Im-sama that was introduced in the Reverie, that technically makes him the third highest power within the world government. And it seems like he's also higher than the Celestial Dragons and the CP0 in terms of authority. And again, it seems like the story is moving towards the idea of the Celestial Dragons not having as much power as they claim, because with the existence of Im-sama and the Gorosei, the Celestial Dragons at this point are just figureheads or scapegoats for the Gorosei to use whenever they feel like it. And so when it comes to Kong, not only is he of high status within the world government, he should be strong given the fact that he was a Marine in the past and the Fleet Admiral at that, which I will get back to later in this video. And talking about him being a Marine, we know that during Roger's era 27 plus years ago, we know that he was the Fleet Admiral of the Marines at that point in time till Roger's death. We also know that Sengoku was an admiral at that point, and Kong offered Garp a position to be an admiral. So it's safe to assume that there was an empty admiral position because Garp was offered one. So there could be another legend from the Marines that we haven't heard about, going by the assumption that they had 3 admirals at that point in time. What we also know is that from that time period till 2 years ago in the current storyline, Sengoku was promoted to Fleet Admiral while Kong was promoted to Commander-in-Chief. And what's kind of weird here is that Sengoku wasn't offered the position of Commander-in-Chief. But I guess this goes back to Sengoku asking Kong for his retirement. If Sengoku was up for the task, perhaps he might have been elected for that position, and given how high of a position it is, it's very probable that the Gorosei are above decides who takes that spot. And apart from his authority over the Cypher Poles and the Marines, I also feel like Kong is responsible, or one of the individuals responsible, for choosing the admirals, including the ones we got from the draft. I think this decision is processed from Akainu to Kong, then the Gorosei. And there's also the Cypher Pole, specifically CP0. Kong probably plays a huge part in that as well. Now, in terms of where I gauge Kong's power level, this guy could be the strongest Marine ever. And this guy having the body type of a brute doesn't convince me otherwise. Now, his physical stature makes Garp look like a kid. Now, I'm obviously talking about Prime Kong because at this point, I don't think any of the old top tiers are Admiral level anymore. They've simply lost too much power to compete. Now, they can hold them off, but I don't think they're winning. And so when it comes to Kong, I feel like given the fact that he was the man at the top of the Marines during Roger's era means a lot. Now, we know Garp and Sengoku were in the front lines fighting Roger from time to time, but just because you were the most known person to fight Roger during that point doesn't make you the strongest. And so when it comes to Kong having the highest position within the Marines, I feel like he was probably on equal footing with the likes of Whitebeard and Roger. But given the fact that Fleet Admirals 99% of the time are stationed at Navy headquarters doing paperwork or something, or sending the admirals to go places, definitely doesn't do justice to Kong because he wasn't out there in the front lines like Sengoku and Garp. Now, I'm not here to disrespect Garp, but there could be a chance that Kong could be stronger than him, or at least relative in strength. When it comes to his relation with Garp, I usually think of outside influence. Now, Oda drew Garp as a kid, and from what it looks like, he seems to be just like Luffy, free-willed, doing whatever they want, and just ready for adventure. So the assumption that Garp was heading towards the route of becoming a pirate can be made. I mean, in the picture, we can see that he tamed a tiger and has a treasure chest in his right hand and a metal pipe on his left. And so what made this sudden change for Garp that he became a Marine? And I think this is where Kong saw potential in Garp and influenced him to join the Marines. And this really goes back to what what we saw during Big Mom's flashback with Mother Caramel. We know that the government were looking for individuals that had the potential to become an admiral or even a fleet admiral. Garp could have been a victim to that whole process. And when you think about it, Garp probably had a mentor in his younger days, just like how Rayleigh trained Luffy, Zephyr trained Akainu, Aokiji, and Kizaru. I think someone had to be there for Garp, and that individual could be Kong. And this goes back to a conversation Sengoku had with Kong. Sengoku addresses him in a more respectful manner, like he was once their teacher. And ever since the reveal of the Rocks Pirates during the Reverie and the timeline of 40 years ago, apart from Garp, Kong could have been affiliated with the Rocks Pirates or even the generation before that, when he was more active as a Marine, because he does look a lot older than Sengoku and Garp. Honestly, it looks like he could be around 90 plus years old right now. And since he was an admiral in the past, it's safe to assume that he probably had a devil fruit ability. And we know Oda is big on themes. Titles given to some characters is usually in correlation with their power. For example, Akainu's red dog, blue pheasant. And so when it comes to, Kong, the first thing I think of is King Kong. Like, this could be on some Dragon Ball Z, great ape transformation, and I would probably lean towards the mythical zone class, and his hockey game would probably be top tier given the fact that he's a physical fighter. Again, Kong, not much is known about him, so it would be amazing if we got some information about something he did in the past, just like we're getting with Garp and the Rocks Pirates. It's definitely great to hear about things that happened in the older generation. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of things that we're not being told. I mean, it's only recently that we learned that Garp was the individual to have probably took down the Rocks Pirates, so there's definitely more to the older generation and a lot more lore too, and hopefully we get to see more things about the past in general. I want to see Kaido talk about Garp or Sengoku or even some of the current admirals, something that would give us some insight to the previous generation. That would be dope to see. But how do you guys feel about Kong, and what role do you think he's gonna play in the story, if he's gonna play any role at all? But before we end this video, I want to answer some questions I saw in the comment section. I may do this very often, whereas at the end of a video I talk about interesting comments from previous videos, or I may answer a question or questions in the comment section. Now the first comment is from Raven Knight. Shout out to Raven Knight. Now he said, I'd say Luffy's hockey is just as much responsible for Gear 4's power as his Devil Fruit is. The robber properties may give Luffy some added strength if he could use Gear 4 without armament, but with armament it's just so much more powerful because it increases the tension, the strength, pressure, and the hardness. Now I definitely agree with this statement, but my point in that video was that Luffy's armament in Gear 4 isn't really different from his base form, and I also said that the mechanics behind Luffy's Gear 4 definitely produces more power than Luffy's hockey in terms of attack. So basically what I'm trying to say is that Luffy's armament isn't really special yet, but I do agree that it does increase the effects of Luffy's strength behind Gear 4, but his hockey doesn't really generate a lot of power. It simply increases the hardness of Luffy's attacks. Take Rayleigh for example. If you go back to the chapter or episode when he started teaching Luffy the basics of hockey, now the level of armament we saw from Rayleigh is clearly on a different level, because Rayleigh's armament wasn't just hard, it also had a shockwave type effect. So that's what I'm talking about when it comes to Luffy's hockey. But if Luffy does obtain this form of ornaments, Gear 4 is gonna be a problem. Now the second comment is from Sullivan Stovall. Shout out to you. Now this is what he said. Luffy's physical endurance and stamina grew as well. After going Gear 4 against Doflamingo, he couldn't even move. Now he can engage in small altercations against weaker opponents after the time limit of Gear 4 is out. I agree, this definitely shows Luffy's growth in stamina. However, Luffy did state that he could move around but didn't know what Doflamingo was going to do. But there is a clear difference here. In Dressrosa, after Gear 4, Gats was carrying Luffy around, but after his fight with Katakuri, he was seen running around and using Gear 2nd and Gear 3rd. So there is a difference there, and it definitely shows growth. So I do agree here. But that's pretty much it for this video, guys. Comment down below what you guys think. Like the video if you liked it. Subscribe for more One Piece content on this channel. Hit the notification bell if you want to get notified for future content. It is Pharaoh, guys, and I will see you folks later. Peace!